D-Day, of course, naturally.
Calling to order the Municipality of Monroeville's Citizens Night and Agenda Setting Meeting for June 6, 2023. It is approximately 7:10 p.m. Could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Have a roll call, please.
Mayor Griesau.
Here.
Mr. Hizzy.
Here.
Mr. Pogue.
Here.
Mr. Stevenson.
Here.
Mr. Wolfram. Mr. Adams.
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Here.
Mr. Biondo.
Here.
Mr. Little.
Here.
Mr. Ratcher.
Here.
Ms. Rock.
Here.
Mr. Hugus.
Here.
Mr. Sedlak.
Here.
Mr. Weldon.
Here.
You look like you're down. Welcome. So this is our Citizens Night and our agenda setting meeting. In a moment, we're going to open up the floor for citizens' comments on any municipal item. At next Tuesday's meeting, prior to the meeting, at the start of the meeting rather, there'll be another comment period for agenda items that we're going to be discussing this evening. And also at the end of next Tuesday's meeting, at the end of the meeting, there'll be another comment period for any municipal item. So in a few moments, we're going to have the comment period for any municipal item. But we're going to start with Mr. Little, the manager. He has an introduction for a new employee that he would like to go over.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Continuing on with my protocol here with, over the last few years, having a turnover of employees, I thought it was a good idea to present a new employee, every new employee we get to council, because sometimes they come into the office and they say, "Who is she?" And they don't know who was hired. And so Lisa Saxon is our new GIS coordinator.
Hi, Lisa.
Just want to stand up so everybody can see you. And she's our new GIS coordinator. Lisa has been a GIS analyst and a geospatial technician, 2 different firms, and we're glad to have her.
Absolutely welcome.
Thank you. Welcome, Lisa. Thank you, Mr. Little, and welcome Lisa and her family. And they can sneak out if they want to.
Hey, guys, thanks.
All right, we are going to open up the floor for citizens' remarks and comments. Once again, this is for any municipal item. We always ask that you keep your comments to a 5-minute time frame and time period. Once again, there will be another opportunity for a comment period at the end of next Tuesday's meeting as well. So the floor is open for anyone that has signed in to make comment.
And I did sign in. My name is Tony Walker, and I am Ward 4.
Welcome, Tony.
Thank you. And thank you for having this meeting tonight. I appreciate it when we can speak. To make my comments, because I wander, ramble on, so I thought I would kind of show what I'm talking about. So I guess we need the camera on.
It's
Oh,
on.
you have it. Oh, okay.
Medium.
All right, this is a little map here. This is US 22, or William Penn Highway. All right, and this is the intersection of Elliott Road. You've got Levin's on one side and the Sheets on the other. And Elliott Road goes all the way, all the way, all the way until it turns to Hotchburg. So when Elliott passes Illini, and Illini comes into it there, this is my concern. So I have made a handy-dandy bigger map to show exactly what I'm talking about. So here's Elliott, and on Elliott it's 35 miles an hour from the time you enter 22. And a lot of people go a lot faster than 35, but it's the posted 35. And again, this is where Illini comes into it. And from the stop sign that I have to stop at, it's really a blind left-hand turn. And of course, I'm old and nervous. You know, I've had 2 cataract surgeries and it's tough to see, but I can do it. But when I make that left-hand turn, I'm praying the whole way that nobody's coming and jamming right into me. But there is a 25-mile-an-hour posted sign after you pass Illini. and it's right about here. And that's the first time that these people, I mean, if they live there, they know it, but a lot of times you'll have a stranger or a truck, and here it tells them to slow down to 25. So what I would like to ask, except I know I can't ask, so just tell you my concern, is if we could possibly find one sign that's way back in the corner or something, to put before you get to Illini that says either approaching blind road or approaching 25-mile-an-hour zone or something, just to let them know that there are people here waiting to turn right or left, like me. So if that's a possibility, and, you know, when you do it is your own business, and, you know, how you do it and what sign you use, it's all up to you. But I am concerned, and the older I get, the more concerned I get. So thank you very much. And I'm going to leave these with you.
That'd be great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Where were you when we need the GIS person?
And I think that's a good suggestion. That's something we have to look through what PennDOT regulations are, and as if we can
Sure.
find a way to
And I
make it
will
work.
sing your praises forever.
Thank you. Next speaker.
All right, good evening. My name is David Mintz. I've already signed in.
Welcome, David.
You know, just to follow up on what Tony just said, I just want to throw out there that unfortunately, one of the invasive species that is abundant everywhere, including Monroeville, is the Japanese knotweed or the Russian knotweed. There's a lot of different knotweeds, and everybody here has seen it, even if they didn't know what it was. And speaking of blind turns, that actually causes a lot of that around Monroeville. I'm sure everybody who lives here knows that. It's the really large, almost heart-shaped plant, the leaves. So if, like, just for example, off of Leslie, where Leslie meets Haymaker, if you come up Leslie and you want to go out onto Haymaker and turn either direction, you really have to creep forward because it's growing. It always grows right around our sign that says Green Hills, and it's growing on the other side of the guardrail on Haymaker, out toward Haymaker, so you have to keep inching up so you can see whether you want to turn right or left. And I'm sure there's probably dozens, if not hundreds, of other intersections around Monroeville like that. So I don't know if there's Public Works that drives around that might be able to like spot those kind of things and maybe just cut them back. And I know it's going to grow back, but if we can kind of, just for safety's sake, just like Tony was saying, if we can keep an eye on that kind of thing. Unfortunately, that's a really powerful invasive species. It's hard to control. I understand that. I also want to add, it is my wife's birthday tonight, and she's out with my son, and I'm here. So happy birthday, Kathy. So some people have said that I'm crazy or dedicated or insane, as they said. I'm going to say maybe it's a combination of all of that.
All guys.
Yeah, so here I am, and they're
Brave,
out.
yeah,
So
really brave.
I just want to follow up on what I always talk about. Everybody knows me pretty well. I just want to follow up. I want to show my appreciation that during last month's, the May Citizen Night meeting, when we were talking about the comprehensive zoning plan and the draft and the issues, both Mr. Biondo and Mr. Poach brought up some of the issues that have to do with oil and gas development, and if we could pull that out. I know it's a long document and it's going to be voted on eventually, but we don't know exactly when. I appreciate that I see on the agenda tonight that there's going to be another public hearing on August 1st. I want everybody to know that and come on August 1st to speak to that. But we tried to pull out that the one issue, which is a large issue, and based on the recommendations of Mr. Biondo and Mr. Poach, who asked Mr. Weldon at the Citizens Night meeting to provide 1 week later, by the 1 week later, which was the regular council meeting, to have changes that included taking oil and gas development, including, as you look at the draft, it's on the Monroeville website right now, that's the December 21st, I believe, draft that is still there, because I just checked it before we came here tonight. And it still shows injection wells as a separate line item that still is included in not only M2 industrial, but the conservancy zones and the expanded landfill zone, as well as the separate line item called oil and gas development that's still included in M2 industrial, as well as the conservancy zones and the expanded landfill. They're still on there because it's the old draft. But I just wanted to make sure that the changes that would take all of that out of conservancy zone and landfill were delivered to Mr. Poach as he requested. Was that already done?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know when that's going to show up on our website as an updated draft. It just, when we check it now, it still shows the old wording, so I didn't know if it had been done. So that's.
It's already pulled out, so we'll have to make sure that the website reflects that.
It doesn't
And it's,
now.
and it's gonna be going to the county as well for review, and that's
Okay.
why we're gonna have another public hearing.
Right, and I just wanted to do publicly, I wanted
Yep.
to
It's
address
already
that just to
pulled
make
out,
sure,
though.
because I never saw the change. And if I can add in there, the wording that I just specifically mentioned is very specific, but you notice that in the public, notice I keep saying expanded landfill zone. If you look at the map, the zoning map that's still on our website, it still shows the much expanded landfill zone from the current landfill zone, which has an old name, and I don't want to confuse the public with that, but it has an old name. It's going to be called LF landfill, the new one, which is very straightforward and understandable, but it's also much larger than the old one, which takes away the buffer from neighborhoods in Monroeville, like the Mellon Plan and the other places on that side, as well as Pitcairn. And I just wanted to verify in my last minute here has that been part of the changes that are being submitted to the county, and it's going to be changed in our draft to keep it at the current landfill size, or is that still going through as an expanded landfill? Because I know we have people, including one of the Pitcairn Council people was here tonight because of that issue. So I was just wondering, is that changing as well? I just wanted to address that.
We are not going to rezone the landfill as it shows on the current draft. It's going to remain as it is.
Okay, so it's going to stay as it is, so that's part of the wording.
Yeah,
for
so,
everybody
so
from
we have to
Pitcairn.
update our website to
Okay.
make sure that
Okay, yeah.
and then when we put it on the website, maybe have the date of when it's put on, that way, because if things do change, everybody knows it's current as of this
Version.
date,
Yeah,
or
whatever.
current as of this date.
Okay, yeah,
And that might
'cause-
be part of the problem.
That's great, so we can all check and see those changes,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, thank you very much, everybody,
Thanks
for
for
your addressing this and your attention to it.
Maybe you
Thank
can
so
make it
much.
out with your wife.
Right on time, David.
I'll say a little bit, but I'm gonna go, yeah.
Not too late.
Thank you for.
Trying to save you, David.
You know,
All right, hello, council. My name is Michael Kane. I've signed in. I'm just going to go ahead and read because I cite a couple things in here. So I'll recap my last talk from the last council meeting so that the community gets the backstory first. I stand before you today as a concerned resident, speaking not only for myself, but on behalf of our entire street, Mount Vernon Drive. Today I bring to your attention a pressing issue that affects the safety and well-being of our community, the practice of tar and chipping. It is imperative that we address this matter and halt this practice immediately. In August of 2022, our street underwent tar and chipping, a process that was intended to improve our road surface. However, the outcome has been far from satisfactory. Instead of a reliable road, we are left with loose gravel and now hundreds of puddles of hot, gooey tar. This substandard work is actively damaging our vehicles, personal property, and most importantly, posing a significant threat to the well-being of our community. I personally have experienced the consequences of the poor road work. My 911 vehicle that I cherish dearly and worked so hard to achieve has suffered $3,500 worth of damage due to the tar and chipping. Today, I present to you an invoice from Porsche Pittsburgh detailing the repairs and the costs incurred. If you read closely, they specifically state that the damage was caused due to tiny rocks and tar. To date, no one has taken responsibility for the damages or reimbursed me for my claim. As a resident who takes pride in our community, I find this lack of accountability deeply concerning. It is unacceptable that we, as responsible citizens, are left to bear the burden of the damages caused by substandard road work that was supposed to improve our quality of life. Moreover, the condition of a road poses a threat not only to personal property, but also to the safety of our children and elders. The loose gravel and hazardous road surface creates an environment where accidents and injuries are more likely to occur. It is our duty to protect the most vulnerable members of our community and ensure their safety by providing well-maintained streets. Not to mention, our children can no longer play on the streets or our cul-de-sac because if they fall, they're not going to get brush burns, they're going to expose their bones. So, first and foremost, we demand that the tar and chipping program be fully stopped when it comes to neighborhood roads in Monroeville. Let's save that money. Second, I have a petition right here that's signed by every household on Mount Vernon Drive demanding that our road be milled and paved as soon as possible this summer, 2023. Let's utilize that money that we save and let's fix the mess that we've been left with. And now, something new, and I ask that you all pay very close attention to this. I think that everyone here will agree with me that we're going to call this the dagger to the tar and chipping program. And if you don't agree with me, I'll refer you to a couple of good doctors on my street and you can get your brains checked out. First, I'm going to quote Paul Hugas, the Director of Public Works and Engineering, from the May 2023 council meeting. And I quote, "If you do it in the staircase fashion, like we put in the program, you know, you mill and pave it, Then the following year, you fog seal it. Then you follow up with crack sealing, and then you patch it. Then at the half-life, you chip seal it. And then the next step is you mill and pave it, and that gets you to your 15-year life cycle of the road. If you eliminate part of that out of it, you're not going to get the life cycle out of your road. Now, let me go back and highlight one part of that quote. 15 years. We're trying to achieve a goal to get our roads to last 15 years. Ladies and gentlemen, does anyone on this council know how many years it's been since Mount Vernon was paved? Well, in speaking with a close neighbor who's been on our road since it was established, it's been exactly 15 years. And our road didn't have a single pothole. It wasn't breaking apart. It only had minor cracks. Let me give you another example. Red Oak Court, right over here, is on the list for this year. I drove over and I spoke to a resident who's been there for 25 years. I asked him when the last time his road was paved. Anybody know when? He's never seen it paved in 25 years. Mr. Hugus, I'll give you the opportunity to respond and verify these timelines. But if true, we're going to need an explanation. And in assuming that these are true, the 15-year program is directly contradictory to what happened on our street. We made it to the goal. So why on earth was our road ever even turned ship to begin with? Second, this proves that neighborhood roads, especially cul-de-sacs, are lasting far, far longer than the goal. Guys, I know it's hard to admit that we're wrong here, but I beg you, admit that we're wrong, and let's move on. Put an end to this in our community, and please fix the nightmare that we've been left with. And then I'm going to leave you with the sound of my wife's car. This was Saturday morning. Y'all ready? That's my wife's car now. That's tar and chips stuck in her rotors. That's now at Audi Cochran, and I'll bring that bill as well. Thank you.
I'll leave the floor open. For anyone else who'd like to address council?
Yeah, to the, over here, Mike.
Stenographer, please.
I have to sign in, Lois Drumheller. Going online and looking at the consent agenda and seeing motion number 4 to authorize to advertise a public hearing for August 1st, 2023, or September 5th, for public comment for amendments to the proposed zoning ordinance and map. I thank you for that. If I was to go on the last month's meeting, the comments that fell after pointing out additional changes from the current draft of the zoning ordinance, and seeing that there were additional substantive changes made to that, and how everybody would have to receive a letter, and you were going to send it certified mail. The question from somebody came up, and the zoning officer incorrectly said that no public hearing would be needed. And that is when I started to rattle off things to my councilman, Bob Stevens, and in fact, gave him a link to the municipal planning code as to why that wasn't. Well, I'm very glad that there was further thought on that. So I really am appreciative of that, because we do need quite another length of time to be able to look at that and see the draft number 2, or perhaps the one you have up there is called draft 2. Something else that I have, another ordinance from the past. In fact, it was passed about a year before Dr. Griesach came on council, and I've discussed this with him, was ordinance number 2482. And 2482 is nothing more than the kind of decorum and the behavior and the due process and Robert's rules and everything that you need to consider during a council meeting, during a citizens' night, during a work session. And that needs to be reviewed from time to time, because I'm going to take a quote somewhere. Somebody said this recently. It wasn't me. If you use decorum to silence people who hold you accountable, then all you are doing is using decorum as a tool of oppression. If you will read or reread 2482, you will see that you may think a reasonable time. First of all, the business meeting, there is an actual 5-minute duration that is expected. Everybody can get their thoughts out. But during Citizens Night, it's a different animal, and it always has been. And until the latest interpretation of this, that all comments should be related or held to 5 minutes, I think you need to think that through. And reasonable may be 2 minutes, reasonable may be 5, but sometimes it's a bit longer. And it's not always the mayor's call, although the mayor is very clear, the order of questions and what shall be on the agenda, that any one of the members of council who wants to hear the whole thing, whether it's 30 seconds longer or otherwise, should have a say in that, should really decide whether or not they would also be willing to hear something that takes a little bit longer than 5 minutes. And you all have that power. You have very few powers. I think eminent domain is the major one that you have. But you certainly have this. And I thank you for reviewing that, because that's an important consideration. And decorum isn't a tool to be used to oppress speech. I also heard that the planning of, on the CIP, the Capital Improvement Plan, that you were discussing, the manager was discussing over $500,000 out of some seed money would be going into install cameras in this building in particular. And I have to ask, who needs to be safe when you have the police in this building? And from whom? And the adding vegetables requiring the general public to be buzzed in or giving the police department, literally, that's that same thing. There are people that have to run to the police department because they're trying to get away from domestic violence. I certainly hope they wouldn't have to be buzzed in if they had to get in all of a sudden because of safety provisions that are in this building and other municipal buildings. Please consider that, because I think that the system of improving the fob or fixing the fob system to enter into a building might be the fix to all of this, and not adding precious money from a capital improvement plan that would, you've got seed money there, and there are plenty of things that you may not be getting from other things that fell short. For instance, the fee that is now a tax on stormwater. I pointed out there are a number of places, not only the mall, but also a number of hospitals that are now not going to pay that fee, so you may need to draw that money from those sources. Well, I guess that's my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, council. Hello.
Welcome.
Good evening, Dr.
Thank you.
Dr. Beck.
Hello, citizens and non-citizens alike. My name is Elizabeth Horansky Beck, and I live at 106 Trotwood Drive in Monroeville, Pennsylvania, 15146. Population about 30,000, I think. And I was given some instructions by another resident here who said, if you're going to speak tonight, make sure you're sworn in and ask for a copy of the transcript. So has that been done?
You don't need to be sworn in, and we can give you the minutes once they're typed up.
Okay, that's on the record. Okay,
Sure
it
is.
she just said two things that never happened at the April 4th hearing, Citizens Night. So the reason I'm here tonight is to let everybody here know about some honors that have been awarded to over 20 people that are here today, many of which are citizens and many of which are not, on behalf of Sustainable Monroeville. For those of you that have been around a while, you've heard of Sustainable Monroeville. It's a group, a nonprofit, a loosely formed nonprofit that I founded in 2009. And when I founded Sustainable Monroeville in 2009, most people didn't know the vocabulary word sustainable. That wasn't part of the collective vocabulary. And here we are midway through 2023, and here's a few new words for everybody here. I'm going to turn around. How many people know what regenerative means? And how many people know what biodynamic means?
Now, Dr. Beck,
Yeah.
I know it's fine, but no one will be able to hear you. It won't be recorded.
Okay, so I was just asking
Sorry,
for a show of
yeah,
hands, and if I didn't turn around, I haven't quite developed the eyes in the back of my head yet. But
You could
never-
ask and turn around,
Yeah,
and you can do it that way. I just want to make sure the microphone picks you up.
Yeah, the mic.
Okay, so working in the context of the hometown girl, Rachel Carson, who spoke of the web of life, how everything's so connected, and that she just grew up a few turnpike exits from where we're standing, the author of Silent Spring. We're gathered here tonight to let council and the government and to honor you too. And so I just wanted to let you know that you especially are being honored because you're taking notes here. I don't know if I can be heard when I'm doing this. Maybe
You
can.
can't.
We can pass them down.
So we're honoring those in this room and beyond. You have a list in front of you. Everybody's received this prior to tonight. So I'd like you to stand. If you're in this room, stand if your name or your organization is on this piece of paper that some of you are holding in your hand or that you were notified. If you don't mind standing or raising your hand. This is an incredible group of people here tonight. And I was going to read some of what I just handed you, but I handed them all out, so I'll speak off the cuff. These people, these individuals have been outstanding. All of you have been collectively working. Mayor Gressack and Mr. Little, it just sticks out in my mind that you put the Westmoreland Heritage Trail together.
There's a lot of people.
There are so many people here that have been creating our beyond sustainable, regenerative future, where we give back more than we take, where we recognize that we are part of nature, not apart from nature. And thank you, Kevin May, Team Pachamama, for being here. Thank you, all of the Team Pachamama folks who are here, educating people about peace at the peaceful gathering of hands in the community. Thank you, all of the people who have been involved in Sustainable Monroeville. I can't name everybody on the paper because there's about 60 individuals, and in memory of 3 individuals. Marilyn Skolnick, some of you remember, she was a model for me. She always used to sit in that chair, right there. And she held everybody accountable, including me. She taught me how to learn from other people when I didn't know how to research, for example, a 400-page new zoning document myself. Madeline Havrilla, may she rest in peace. Her family is here tonight. Kate O'Brien, may she rest in peace, who put in a permaculture or a permanent agriculture landscape in her yard in McKees Rocks to model for people what it means to have an edible landscape. So I'm going to close here with a visualization I did a long time ago, Mr. Little said was good. Imagine yourself walking out your front door, hearing bells, church bells though, not bells limiting your time. And imagine green rooftops for as far as you can see in Monroeville, PA. And imagine, guess what? Something's happening big. Because Jesse Lex, who's here tonight, my new next door neighbor, is instituting a community garden in our backyards. And he's just planted an amazing wildflower garden. And he's not spraying his lawn, which is why I'm honoring 4 other people on our block too. And we've done that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Beck.
Thank you, Dr. Beck, and congratulations to all of those that she honored. And I'm assuming, Dr. Beck, there's a way for people to find out more about what you do. Is there a website or a Facebook page? Can they just, I'll allow you to
Okay, so I'll post on the Sustainable Monroeville Facebook page. There's Reimagine the Turtle Creek Watershed and Airshed Communities Plus. That's reimagineticwac.org. And all of the organizations that are listed on that paper, there's a mycelial network. Those are fungus. Mushrooms have these networks, these nerve networks under the soil. And that's what this is all about, connecting everybody, including council. Thank you, Mr. Poach. I could go on and on with thank yous. The other thing is, I'm wondering, Mr. Poach, are you going to speak for 5 minutes about what a watershed is at the end, like we agreed to?
I'll mention our participation, yes, ma'am.
Okay,
in my
and
report.
Alcoasand, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll leave the floor open.
Hi, my name is Jay Wright. I have a couple simple questions. Can somebody tell me what's happening with the pickleball courts?
Still looking into it.
Well, are we spending taxpayers' money to do them?
At this point, no, but we're still looking into them.
Okay, so you don't have an answer for that. Second question.
Qualify that. I mean, we're gonna be repaving up there the existing courts is what we're gonna be doing this
All
year.
right, are you taking basketball courts for pickleball courts?
No, what is splitting and cracking, which the people have been complaining about at the park, that's gonna be repaired.
Okay, you know what I'm asking, though. I'm asking, are we gonna spend taxpayers' money for less than 1% of the people?
Well, that hasn't been decided.
Simple question. Second thing, we've called you, we've called Mr. Cole. We have a car that parks on park property,
Right.
on grass. We don't know where the people go. They don't go in the park in our neighborhood. We're trying to find out what's going on. We called Paul, and Paul said, there's no parking on park property, but there's no signs that say that. When we called the police said, there's no signs that say that because we can't do anything. Can somebody do something about this car? Because we're a little bit worried about it in the neighborhood.
Jay, what are the people doing?
Pardon me? I don't know. I know the neighborhood is old, Mr. Little, and the problem is, when something happens, it's too late to fix a problem. The time to fix it is when it's still a problem, before the results come back.
I can answer that if you want me to.
Sure, go ahead.
Gravel parking area is going to be removed and signage will be put up.
Okay, so then they'll be told not to park there.
Correct.
Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
All right, Jay. I'll leave the floor open.
Good evening. I am Jamie Matkazich. I am the owner of J.A. Rudder Company in Monroeville. And I just wanted to, I spoke at the April meeting regarding the zoning, and I just kind of wanted to bring that to the forefront again. Yes, I did sign it. Thank you. J.A. Rudder Company, we're a wood waste recycling facility. We take wood that would normally go to the landfill and turn it into landscape supplies. We're a manufacturing company. So I just wanted to keep in your mind my request as you're working through the rezoning to also take a look at the rezoning of our property. My father started the business before zoning mandates were in place, so we are currently operating as a non-conforming use. So my request would be that as you're looking at revising zoning, that you also revise the zoning of the 3 parcels, 2 of which I personally own, 1 of which the company owns, to mirror what we do, so it reflects what we're truly doing. So I have this drawing here. The bold black outline shows the outline of the 3 parcels. The parcel 365 is the main operating place of the business. Parcel 310 is this guy right here, and it's owned by J.A. Rudder Company. And then this parcel contains my residence, and I'd like to request that the portion where my residence sits be turned to R1, so it is congruent with the Shangri-La neighborhood. And then the remaining piece of that parcel 287 be the M1. And that would put everything in congruency with not only what we're doing, but also with the surrounding areas. In addition, I'd like to point out it's been somewhat of a financing roadblock for us in the past when we've talked about doing some upgrades, whether it be equipment or to the land, in that we are operating as a non-conforming use, and it would be really beneficial for us from a financing perspective, just to kind of have the i's dotted and the t's crossed for the financing perspective. So I had placed these into the exhibit in April, but I just wanted to bring it back to the forefront for your consideration. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you. I'll leave the floor open for anyone who'd like to address council on any municipal item. Seeing none, we're going to close the comment period. And Mr. Wheeldon, for that last matter, have you met, you've met with Ms. Rudder
Yes,
before?
we've discussed it.
I think she's on record.
Correct. And then, so this is not a voting meeting, Citizens Night's not a voting meeting, but what we can do is kind of, especially when it comes to the zoning ordinance, as far as discussion of it. Council, does anybody have any issues or questions about specifically that Rudder property and the 3 parcels she just outlined? Because I know it was presented to council before. Is that something that council be,
I thought that was something that that was gonna be updated. Was that something that was gonna be updated in the,
We're intending to update that. Jamie just made another presentation just to make sure it hasn't been forgotten because the process is, months long.
so can we make sure that's in the edit that we're talking about? Or would that,
I don't know if I've changed the map yet. I don't remember. I'd have to look.
but we just want to make sure it's in there before we vote down the road? Or before the
Sure.
actual public hearing in August or September? Thank you. And then council, yes, ordinance 2482, which is the decorum and the rules and regulations of how we govern the functions of council meetings and committees. And yes, so section, or Rule 7B states that the presiding officer, the mayor, and the majority of council may limit discussion within a reasonable time frame. And so what we've always decided was 5 minutes was a reasonable time for individuals to get their comments and their points across. And even we saw that tonight, all the speakers were able to get, really, even Dr. Beck had a lot to present. She got in all of her comments. Mr. Kane, you were able to stress your concerns and get everything in. So 5 minutes is what we feel is a fair time frame to also allow the meeting to move forward. If you have 1 or 2 speakers, it's one thing. If you have 50 speakers, it's another thing. But council, so I feel 5 minutes is plenty of time. At any point, if anyone thinks otherwise, please let me know, and we can always modify that. Everybody good? Thank you. Moving on to our agenda-setting meeting. I have an executive session announcement. The council conducted an executive session on Wednesday, May 24th, 2023, from 6:30 PM to 7:30 PM with the Public Partners Consultant, and before Citizens Night this evening on Tuesday, June 6th, from 6:15 to 7 PM for personnel and litigation reasons. Council legislative action, if any, shall be taken at next Tuesday's June 13th council meeting. Council, minutes for you to review and to approve next week would be for the Citizens Night meeting of May 2nd, 2023, the council agenda-setting meeting of May 2nd, 2023, and the regular council meeting of May 9th, 2023. Any questions or comments on those minutes? Hearing none. Reports of the tax collections. Council, does anybody have any questions on those this evening?
Not.
Hearing none. Moving forward. List of bills and budget transfers.
Not behind.
Council, any questions? Hearing none. And our payroll report. Council, questions or comments? None. Thank you. We will consider vacancies on boards, commissions, and authorities next Tuesday. Moving on to, we have 2 bids and proposals to consider. Mr. Little, please.
Okay, the first one is a bid that council authorized to have the fuel station down at the Public Works Department recreated, I guess I will say that way. And we've received a loan bid from Total Tank Works LLC for $63,000. And as council knows, it's at your discretion whether or not you can want it to be rebid because we only received one bid, or to award the bid. Any comments or questions on that? And Paul, if you want to say anything?
Yes, the project involves removing the existing dispensers, putting in new ones, putting in a new data collection system, which would be a cloud-based system into Public Works, so we could prepare reports, permitting, inspection. So it's a total package for just the dispensers, not the tanks, the dispensers.
Do you feel, or Mr. Hugus, Mr. Little, is that a fair price?
It is a fair
competitive
price. There was two companies that picked up the bid specs, but only one returned them. It's not a popular type of construction.
Understood.
The two pumps that are there currently are dinosaurs to start with.
They are.
So-
All
So it's
Yes.
really time to do something, so.
And this is also, who uses this fueling station?
Fueling stations used by the police, fire, EMS, Public Works, the engineering department, the municipal authority.
A lot of vehicles.
A lot of vehicles, we use typically about 200,000 gallons of diesel fuel and gasoline per year from that station.
Okay. Council, any other questions? Mr. Little, next item.
Okay, next is the RFP request for proposals for the Park and Recreation Comprehensive Plan. And we have received 4 RFPs, one from Environmental Planning and Design, one from Paschik, one from Mackin, and one from HRG. And council can see the totals, which a spreadsheet was put together by Mr. Estock for me. Low bid is $46,940, environmental planning design, although you do not have to go with that because this is a professional service. I have a few phone calls out to a couple of the vendors, and I'm not going to make any recommendation on this until next Tuesday. And unless council, I put each of the whole plans, which are very interesting reading, but quite voluminous. And the first page, don't worry about the first page. That's just a cost estimate from the first vendor, the low bidder. But does that council have any questions? Have they read anything on that, on the RFPs for the Park and Rec Comp Plan?
So the one is 6 months and all the others are 3. Is there I guess I just don't understand the reasoning behind that.
Well, that's one of my questions.
Okay.
One is 6 months and one is 6 months and one is 3 months.
And yeah, one's 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a few questions, and hopefully they'll get answered we can delay it and table it next Tuesday if necessary, but I'd rather move on with it and have you guys make a motion.
And then Paschik did the, what did they do, our active transportation plan, or?
They did our active transportation plan. They also did our joint comprehensive plan with Churchill and Wilkins. And they actually did our park and recreation plan 20-some years ago. I think it's back in 2000, I believe, or 2002, somewhere around there, about 20 years ago. So we got 4 bids, which was good, And I'm quite pleased, to tell you the truth, I'm pleased with the prices, especially the low price. But price isn't everything. It's definitely a consideration, but it isn't everything. Okay?
Any other questions at this time, council?
I would advise you to go on and at least peruse, I like to use the word peruse, the RFPs and take a look at them, as obviously, Dennis, you have.
I have, yes,
Yeah.
I have.
He did his homework. Yes, and then we'll wait for a recommendation from you, and if we have to push it, we'll push it back.
Okay.
Council, moving over to our consent agenda, to our motions, we have 4 this evening, or 4 to be considered for this, for next week. Mr. Little.
Okay, is a motion to approve a property disposition for the Tricog Land Bank for a property located at on Interlaken Drive, lot and block number 1108H218, which is a vacant lot. And there is a supporting documentation in your packet, which we receive these periodically, and which I think is a good thing with the land the TriCog is doing. Any questions on that, Council? No, sir. Okay, next one is a motion to approve the property acquisition for the TriCog Land Bank for property located at 736 Patton Street Extension, lot and block 544R18. And this is an acquisition, not a disposition. Any questions on that?
Next item.
Okay, next one is a motion to authorize to advertise an ordinance to adopt a proposed amendment to the Home Rule Charter to delete the language that requires a residency requirement for the municipal manager and authorizing the submission to the Allegheny County Department of Elections for placement on the ballot of the November 7th, 2023 general election. Any question on that, Council?
No, but if I could speak to that briefly. So it's no secret Mr. Little is planning on retiring, and we're going to be doing a manager search for early next year. And so right now, in the Home Rule Charter, it states the municipal manager has to live in the municipality. And we're happy for that, and we enjoy that, and we think that's how it should be. And all of our other employees, that's dictated by contracts and employee handbooks. And at this point, most of our employees live within the municipality. We have one contract where there's some latitude that's just been added into that last contract. However, by us having it in the Home Rule Charter, there's no way for us to change it. So really what we're looking for is for the next manager, because if we have a residency requirement, that could really limit the pool of applicants. If you have a professional, a manager that we really want, and maybe he or she has 3 kids in high school, and they're 15 minutes away, to ask them to uproot their family, to move, they're just not going to apply here. So it really limits the pool of candidates, and that's why we would like to change it in the Home Rule Charter. However, it doesn't, if this council even, or even a future council decides to mandate the manager to live here, they could do that under the contract that they have the manager sign. So we really aren't losing anything by getting this approved on the ballot. So we'll be talking about this over the next few months, because this will be a ballot question in the November election. But it's really about trying to open up the candidate pool for the next municipal manager. I really support it. I think it's a good thing. It really wouldn't change it, because we could always change it by contract moving forward. And hopefully the voters understand that. It probably shouldn't have been put in the Home Rule Charter to begin with, but that's what we're left with, and the only way to change things in the Home Rule Charter is to do it through a voter referendum.
Nick, if I may?
Yes, please.
I'm sure everybody's aware that surrounding communities have pretty much doing away with exactly that. Pittsburgh, for instance, has done away with it for, I believe, fire, police, and everybody's looking at doing that. Sooner or later, it's not going to be a requirement, no matter what municipality you live in. So we're just trying to get up front of this and be progressive looking forward to where we can get better employees. So that's my take.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. And yeah, so just to be clear, what we're going to be considering for Tuesday, a week from today, is an authorization to advertise the ballot question. So then what we do is in our next meeting, after that, it's an ordinance, Mr. Ratcher.
Draft ordinance.
Draft ordinance that we would vote on at the July meeting. That would then, if it gets approved, which hopefully it will, if it gets approved, it gets sent to the Department of Elections, and then they change the wording however they want, and then it would be on the ballot for the November election. So council really can't vote to change anything. All we're doing is we're just trying to get it on the ballot. So that's that. We'll keep talking about it between now and November, though. Next motion, Mr. Little.
Okay, a motion to authorize to advertise a public hearing for August 1st, 2023, or September 5th, 2023, for public comment for amendments to the proposed zoning ordinance and map. And we had Mrs. Drumheller mention about that. The reason for the double dates is we're waiting, we want to have the public hearing when we have comments back from the county. And They have 45 days to give us comments back. We don't know when they will have comments back when we submit to them. Any questions on that, council?
Nope. Very good. And that wraps up our motions for this month. We have 2 resolutions to consider. Mr. Little.
Okay, resolution for the demolition of slums and blight at the location of 150 Dexter Drive, lot and block number 854E363. Any questions on that, council? And we had a, Paul, you want to say something?
Yeah, we had a show cause hearing while you guys were in an executive session. Nobody showed up. I didn't expect anybody would.
Very good.
Okay.
Next item.
Resolution adopting the Valley Park Sewage Planning Module.
Did we get
You know-
a brief on that a little bit?
Well, that is basically for we're putting in, hopefully, we get it done, we're going to be putting in a bridge crossing over from Valley Park across Turtle Creek to Murraysville to the trail. And we're going to have a gazebo there. We're also going to have a bathroom facility. And part of the bathroom facility is why we need to have this sewage planning module. So that's kind of the long and the short of it.
Is that bridge on the walking trail, is that in Monroeville or is that in Murraysville?
Most everything is in, we're just touching on to Murraysville.
Okay, and we.
Yeah, everything
okay
is
with
on
that?
our side, it's in Valley Park. Where the skate park is, that would be taken away, and that's where the bridge would land, right there. And then if you're looking at the bridge from Abers Creek Road, on the left would be a gazebo, then on the right would be bathroom facilities and a parking lot.
My question is, when that bridge connects to the trail, is that all Monroeville?
No, that's Murraysville.
Do we have to have permission from Murraysville?
Oh,
for that?
Murraysville, they've already taken it to
Okay,
Murraysville.
thank you.
Yeah, that's been a while ago. They've already taken it to Murraysville.
Any other questions or comments, council? Very good. And that's our resolutions. Moving over to our reports of municipal staff. Mr. Ratcher, do you have anything this evening?
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
Mr. Little.
Yes, we have Community Day coming up this Saturday up at the community park. And also have a 5K race, which begins at 9 o'clock. Registration is 8. You can go online on the Monroeville Foundation website, and you can register for the race, which I haven't done yet. I plan on doing. Okay. Household hazardous waste electronic collection event, Saturday, June 24th, from 9 to 1 at the Public Works Building. Register through Noble Environmental. Okay, or you can go on our website. We have a site where you can register on the website. And the July 4th Parade and Fireworks is on, guess what, on July 4th. Okay, so everybody keep that in mind. Also, I put on here about I found a way to get rid of all these old VHS tapes that we have down in Monroeville Municipal TV for free. And Jared, I haven't mentioned that to you yet. I got busy, haven't mentioned it to you. And we can get rid of them for free. And the Historical Society mentioned about quite possibly having some for posterity's sake, but they want to digitize them, and that is a little bit of a job. And Mr. Poach, you had some
I
comments
do.
about
I'm trying to
that.
check with Mr. Walker, and I are touching base, back and forth on the topic. It's kind of people-intensive to do that, to put it in place. They express some interest to have them and then digitize so that they, through their website, through the historical site, if somebody does want to see or reference an existing tape, that will be turned into something to be able to held in their archives to it. The question remains, is it's volunteer, and they're always looking for volunteers, folks, to do that in place. One of the facilities that is available is at the Carnegie Library, actually, to do that. So it's coordinating that activity. The library beginning to help to, pave the way to do that, but it would take quite some time. I thought we had an Eagle Scout project at one point. Somebody was in jail the last year.
Yeah, that fell apart.
That fell apart, to do that, the timing, to do that. So we do have, I've asked them to try to come up with a decision here within the next week, Mr. Little, so.
Yeah.
To see if we can get that. If not, because then we can get them properly.
We have about
disposed.
1,300
Yep.
VHS tapes.
Since 1980,
Back in the 80s.
early 80s, to do that.
And they're just sitting there, and they're taking up a lot of room. And if you cannot determine any, council, the Historical Society, the library, if anybody wants to keep any for posterity's sake, then we have to get rid of them, then we should get rid of them, to make more room downstairs.
What the manpower intensive part of it is when you move that, it's physically somebody has to be engaged, put it in, sit there through when it's in place, when it goes on, in the period of time that it would take. So it's like 1,300.
If you wanted to
several
have,
hours,
for instance, a
like a year.
council meeting,
Yeah.
if you wanted to show it at, maybe somebody's father was on council, and they're not with us any longer, and you wanted to show it at some family event, okay, that's fine. That's what we're looking at if somebody wanted to do that, but you'd have to go through the tapes. Now, to digitize them, if you wanted to do that, it's a 1-to-1 ratio, where if the meeting was 2 hours, then you're going to have to digitize it, and it'd take 2 hours. Imagine doing that for 1,300 tapes, how long that would take, if you wanted to do that. So that's the issue right here. So if anybody wanted to say, oh, yeah, I remember that meeting back in 1992 in the summer, I don't know what month, but you would have to come in and we'd let you, go through it and see which one is what. And, yeah, I'm sure council would be okay taking it. And, but that's the issue we have right now.
So the old graphic arts teacher comes back, as well. But yeah, that's the challenge. So we hope to have an answer if they'll be able to do that as well.
Very good. Anything else, Mr. Little?
Just thing I mentioned to council that Mr. Rodriguez from the NBA, which is the Monroeville Baseball Association and Soccer, will be here next week.
Monroeville Baseball and Softball Association.
And softball.
MBSA.
Did I say soccer? Okay, softball. Okay, I meant softball. He'll be here to talk about the new scoreboard and LED signs that go up in the park, and also the batting cages. He'll be here next at the council meeting. And that concludes my report.
Yeah, and Mr. Little, since you mentioned the 4th of July parade and fireworks, that is on a Tuesday, which is when our next month's meeting would be, so we're going to have to move that. So if we can put that on next Tuesday's agenda to
Okay.
work that
yeah,
out, whether we bump it to
okay.
Thursday or
Yeah.
whatever we decide.
Okay, all right.
Good thinking.
We just do that by resolution, correct?
Well,
It'll be done by,
no, wait,
were to move
let me back up here. I think we may have, more so for the benefit of the public and not legally, we probably have done that with the one advertisement we do in the beginning of the year, but it should be, if you want to, when do you want to move it, Wednesday?
Zoning hearing board.
We want to do Thursday? We used to do them
probably
Thursday.
Thursday.
That's zoning hearing board.
Probably advertised.
The zoning hearing was Wednesday, probably the
Yeah.
6th, Thursday the 6th.
Yep.
Would be Citizens Night.
Okay.
Be Citizens Night, would be the same meetings we're having tonight. And then we would have then the regular council meeting on the second Tuesday, as we always would.
Be the 11th.
Okay. Let me get back to council on that, okay?
Yeah, we could decide that on Tuesday.
Okay.
I think we just do that with a motion whenever
Yeah.
council's ready to decide it.
Okay,
Okay.
very good. Mr. Hugus, anything this evening?
No, sir.
Ms. Rock?
Nothing.
Thank you. And we move to reports of our council members. Mr. Hizzy.
I have none.
Mr. Poach.
Couple of things to add into this evening. As a follow-up to Dr. Beck's presentation before, come on, I had it on my phone here. Hold up. Sorry, so in relation to, she mentioned the participation in Alcoasand and the Allegheny County Sanitary Authority. On an annual basis, when council attends the League of Municipalities meeting that's in place, we attend a mandatory meeting that Alcoasand has to hold regarding our participation in the Allegheny County, in the Alcoasand's watershed, in the Turtle Creek Valley watershed. Let me be sure I get it right. I'm looking to do that. Our participation really has been, the part to do that is their version, their plan that they're under mandate to do is be able to control overflow waste and water into the sanitary system. And they're trying to do a lot of different things from that. And they report to us as customers of that regarding everything from their plans as they move forward to reduce it, including descriptions of their large tunnel, which you probably start to see their commercial with the really ugly fish that's on there to do that, the two fish stock do that. And that's a tunnel that's being born underneath the Allegheny and the Monongahela. I'm sorry, from Monongahela across the Ohio to Neville Island. But our participation has also been to where we reduce stormwater flow into Turtle Creek to that area. And that's what our stormwater management program has been about for the last 5 years now. That is in place.
going on
Because we're,
5 years.
yeah, because we have to redo our permit again this year. So that's going to continue on in our ability to do that. And what happens is a number of the things to reduce it. You'll see the retention, legislatively, we do things in terms of new facilities that have retention ponds to do that, to control the controlled flow of stormwater. Out again also is up to and including things like sweeping the streets. And that's part of the process to do that. And we try to mandate, and I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, Mr. Story really knows these things, very quickly, in terms of that. We monitor whatever waste that's moved out from retention ponds that we take, as well as what's been picked up across the municipality, too. So we're informed on it. We stay committed to the stormwater management plan as a portion to reduce that flow into Turtle Creek Valley in terms of stormwater, too, to do that, too. And to the folks that came and participated in that as well, I think there was an inspiration to a lot of folks here locally in their environmental groups that I, personally had a receipt from it from that effect, because that's the reason my daughter's an environmental engineer now, really, and her specialty is stormwater. Actually, she's in the Erie area doing that, and it started right here down at Old Valley Park down there, and you say, who brought up knotweed earlier? I forget who brought knotweed. Yeah, Dave. It brought up, that was, that's what we really found out about in that reduction in those programs. So, it's an active piece. Our school district, Ms. Delaney here, keep those groups that are involved in that, and it has an outcome of folks to do that. And in fact, she hosted last year's Gateway group that went to Presque Isle Park. And they came up there to do that, to visit as well. She works in the area too. So that's our portion that we start. It's not gonna end. It isn't. The programs have to expand. I don't know, Mr. Hugus, Mr. Story's probably the real expert on that too. Do we anticipate any new restrictions or things, new activities in the next permit process?
Our permit application is under review by the DEP. Now, what comes out of that, we don't know.
We don't know. So there could be.
There could be more regulation.
Right, to do that as well. So that's one part of it. Second part was a conversation, Mr. Kane, Mr. Petroselli, evening gentlemen, too, to do that, in terms of their portion of Mount Vernon Drive. It's on there. There's absolutely no question, as we look at the program that we have underway, that, certainly needs to be reviewed. I visited, I think we have all been over, have we not? Bob, I know you have, Dennis, you have. I've been over. To do that, visit and spoke to everyone. So it's not unnoticed to do that. I checked today, I have 36 emails since September. Gentlemen, back and forth, which, by the way, remember, when you write me an email, everything is public domain, including your comments and stuff that are in there. People ask for them, to do that. That's in place from that. So it's very clear. Now, a couple of things are ongoing. One of the things that was mentioned tonight was the length of time and streets that were in place too. That was some new information, although there may be another piece of the timeline that's a little bit different. We really didn't have an active plan. This plan right now really began 2014. So we're not as far into the time frame. So in the aspect, it's not even really 10 years into this stage plan of which you spoke of. So yes, there are going to be streets that weren't addressed. And the problem, what created that prior to 2010, was at least 4, if maybe not 8, I'm not sure, 4 for sure, years where council didn't pave anything. Nothing was authorized at all. And probably even prior to you living here or you guys owning your home, certainly, to do that. It's been a long time that group didn't do anything at all from that. So it has been a massive catch-up problem. This has been one solution, as part of that multi-step program that was referenced earlier. This past year, I think we had about 9 miles of this, the fog seal process that was done. Guys, I don't know what happened to your section of the street. Now, as we've discussed in person, I don't think these gentlemen mind me bring this conversation up. Those of you that are familiar with Mount Vernon Drive, it proceeds the heavy traffic piece, then turns down to Arden Drive afterwards. That part's worked out okay. It wasn't pleasant. It is the portion from there on that's on there. And so we've taken that into consideration. I jokingly called it the Mike and Mike rule to do that. It's like, guys, we have to consider what, how this happened in that evaluation. So that is being taken into consideration, including, I think, a question you asked me about Ramsey Road, which we're probably not going to look at in terms of the fog portion this year, to do that right now, the entire length of that. Old Ramsey, a portion down the hill and Plus as well, is going to get done, but the other part that's traveled, to do that. Now, I'll take some little responsibility on one piece of this. In September, I know I visited that when we first talked about it. My first email from you guys is dated beginning of first week of October to do that, and we began this conversation about it. I queried, should we then address, and I mentioned street sweeping before, because we recognize this is waste. Should we start to do that at that time? Okay, talked it over, up in the air, about it too, and I asked, and I don't say insisted, but I asked, from Engineering and Public Works, well, at least let's try to do something with that in terms of an option. May not have been the best solution. So out of the 9 some odd miles that were done this past year, we didn't get it right. There's some reason it's not working correctly. So I queried Mr. Hugus, and I think we have some potential for that company to come here and also take a look and evaluate that too. What is it that those guys have been able to do?
We're going to reevaluate that specific section of roadway, because that's the only one that we've had complaints about.
Yeah, that's had that serious degradation as well that's on there. I'm not going to make a smart comment about it, like, there could be something, bad voodoo under the street or something like that. I don't know. But as many of you know, and I spoke to these folks, all of that portion of Mount Vernon, I only grew up less than a half a mile from there. It stopped at where Arden, before Arden Drive to do that. It's been there for years, part of it, but not the end where these folks live. So I wish I could have wave a magic wand, and fix it, because now, the solutions in those problems are not great for that. Is it mill and pave the entire piece? Possibly. It's not in the, let me repeat myself from personally, I said to these folks, and anybody else that wants to ask me, it's not in the cards for right now in this paving season. And I think we discussed that previously with my colleagues as well. Okay, let's make sure we have this in place, and we should really make these decisions by December for the next year. We kind of, to get the purchase the equipment and stuff, and you guys are both familiar with project management and the time frame to do that. It isn't something that's right now, that train is moving forward with the product, the materials and things that are in place, to do that. But if there's something we can continue to do, we'll continue to monitor the situation, going to continue to clean up the street sweep, because as I mentioned just a little bit ago, we're responsible for that. We're cleaning it up. We're going to keep coming after it and keep cleaning it up. And I wish it was a magic wand for that, and to that I apologize. I wish it would have been better to do that, too. Other than that, just one last piece to our colleague, Mr. Wolfram's hasn't been feeling real well, too. We wish him all the best and hope he's to a quick and speedy recovery as well to do that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Stevenson.
I just have one safety item, and it's for all the community in this room, plus anybody watching this. We've got some awful hot days, and we really have to be really careful outside at our parks and even in your yards. You must hydrate, because heat stroke can sneak up on you. And you'll go down like a ton of bricks, and if there's nobody there, you're not going to get any help. So just be careful out there, enjoy the summer, but hydrate, just hydrate. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Adams.
I'd just like to say get well, Steve, in a speedy recovery.
Great. Mr. Williams.
For the public's interest, the PUC mandates that Duquesne Light clear all the right-of-ways underneath the wires. And as they do this, they chip up the branches and get them away, but they cut the logs usually in 18-inch pieces and leave them there. A lot of the homeowners don't want the logs. So if you have a fireplace and you're looking for firewood, go through the municipality. There's some nice logs on Johnson Road. They're yours for the taking. If it's on a property owner's property, knock on the door and say, do you want the logs? If they don't, but they're free, they're cut, and a lot of it is hardwoods instead of pine trees. So help us clean up the right-of-ways. Appreciate it. The other thing is, street light on Cathedral Drive that we had put in. We ordered it on October the 3rd, and it took them about 6 months to get it up. Well, now I have complaints about the light shining a couple houses away in the backyard. So I went over there 9:45 one night, knocked on the door, and I said, I want to see this. He says, well, we told you what it was. I says, I don't take nobody's word for it. I want to see it for myself. When I talk to somebody, I can tell them with authority. So the light is irritating. And I went back and looked at the light. What happened, the pole was leaning from the top to bottom, probably 6-8 inches. And what that did was made the light shine in your eyes instead of on the road. So I called Duquesne Light, and there's a couple solutions. They're going to go out and look at the light, and if they feel that they can't adjust the light, then it would cost the municipality $250 for them to come out with a truck and a man and put a shield on the front of that light. So I just want the public and council to know what we're up against. If we have to do it, we have to do it. And it is irritating. The other thing is, them Canadian wildfires, there's a bunch of them, and a lot of this smoke is because of it, and anybody with breathing problems, be aware that it's not the mills or anything else, it's Canadian wildfires blowing smoke down into the lower 48 states. And with that, I thank you all for coming. It's always good to see an audience, and makes a difference in council decisions. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Just to repeat, council's okay with buying that shield for $250? Council has no problem.
Yeah, we
with
can
that.
fix that. Hopefully they can adjust.
If we have to.
We should fix that. Bob should put it up. Mr. Beyond.
I told the guy, I says, if you don't want to do it, lend me a truck, I'll go do it myself. Well, he didn't want to hear that.
Why don't you get up on any ladders?
Hey, I could do it. Well, they don't have ladders anymore. They got baskets, you know. When I was a structural iron worker, we hung wooden floats, and we had to drag them all over the place. We didn't have handrails or anything back in the 60s, and I wouldn't be afraid to go up there and put a shield on the light.
Let's call Duquesne Light. How about that? Let's
Yeah.
have that.
I did. I'm going to call them this
Okay,
week.
please. Mr. Biondo.
I don't know how to follow that act, but I always come after Bob, and this is the hardest job of my night, I feel like.
Yeah.
We'll start with you next week. We'll start down.
That's fair.
Again, to echo Bob, first of all, get well, Steve. Really wishing Steve the best. To echo what Bob said, it really is nice to see a lot of people here. Some of our meetings are very dead and they go very quick, which is nice because we get to go home and see our families. But it's nice to have people here that are engaged and care about their community, care about what's happening in their lives. And thank you, everyone, for coming. Tony, Lois, it's always good to see you guys. Thanks for being, showing up and letting us know your issues. And that's really all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Biondo, and I'll echo a lot of what was already said. Best wishes to Steve. Yes, thank you for everybody for coming out here tonight, and everyone was honored. Dr. Beck mentioned myself and Mr. Little and the Heritage Trail. We were a very, very, very tiny part of that trail. We definitely supported it, but there was a lot of people that were
If I
involved.
can make a comment on that.
But,
The person that was very instrumental in that trail was Malcolm Silas, who's retired now. He was a Park and Rec director for Westmoreland County.
Yeah, but we very much support it, and we're going to keep supporting it because the grant is already in place to expand the trail to connect with the Great Allegheny Passage, which would be wonderful for the region to connect from Monroeville to Washington, D.C. It would be pretty cool.
We're gonna have a knock-me festival.
We'll get rid of all the numbers.
Right, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
That's the only way to deal with it.
And I just want to thank everybody for coming out for the Memorial Day parade and the ceremony honoring our fallen military members last Monday. We appreciate your participation. And I want to congratulate our Gateway graduates. Yes, we do have school board representation here, but we want to congratulate all of our graduates, especially my daughter, who's a graduate. These are 2023. So we wish all the graduates the best. And to be fair to my family, it's a happy birthday to my other daughter in a couple weeks here in June for Allie. So with that, I want to seek a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you and good night.